She cooked her jollof rice with mortuary water that had washed the dead, water that had touched bodies that never said goodbye. Do you believe in Akudaya stories? Well, if you don't, this story is for you. But nobody knew that part. All they knew was the smell. They said if you followed it long enough, your feet would carry you to a place your mind never agreed to go. People later claimed they only wanted to look, only wanted to confirm, only wanted to buy one plate. Before sunset, Ajala Street always changed. By 5:30 p.m., the air thickened. Not with smoke, but with hunger. The kind that pressed saliva painfully under the tongue. The kind that made grown adults restless without knowing why. Then at exactly 6 p.m., she appeared. Mama Ronti. No one ever saw her arrive. One moment the corner was empty. The next, her stall was there. 3 tables, one massive iron pot, 20 orange coolers, lined neatly like obedient soldiers. Fire crackled beneath the pot, though no one remembered seeing it lit. Red smoke lifted slowly into the sky, slow, oily, almost alive, like it was announcing something unseen to listeners. And then, the smell, it did not drift. It pulled. Women stopped mid-conversation and sniffed the air like hunting dogs. Men abandoned errands. Drivers parked carelessly, engines still running. Even those who swore they were not hungry felt their mouths fill without permission. People walked from faraway communities, from Ajeh, from Raimo, from places that required 2 buses and a long trek, just for one plate of Mama Ronti's jollof. 1 spoon led to shaking hands, 2 spoons led to silence. By the 3rd, eyes glazed over. Some customers cried after eating. Some laughed for no reason. A few whispers that the rice reminded them of the food their mother cooked before they died. By 8 p.m., all coolers were gone. Every single day. Yet no one ever saw Mama Ronti eat. No one ever knew where she lived. At first, people asked casually, "Mama, which side did they stay?" She would smile slowly without showing her teeth. Everywhere, she would reply. Some people came begging for work. "Mama, I can wash plates. I can fan the fire. I can help you, say." She refused them all, always. "I know they collect workers," she would say softly, even on days when the queue wrapped around the street like a restless snake. Then one evening, she said something strange. "I already have workers." That was when the 2 girls appeared. They stood beside her as dogs deepened. 2 identical young women, beautiful, silent, with eyes too old for their faces. They never spoke, never ate, never blinked even when smoke burned their eyes. They moved like shadows that knew the work before it was asked. If one lifted the cooler lid, the other had already tied the nylon. If one wiped sweat from Mama Ronti's forehead, the other stirred the pot without a spoon. People whispered, "Are daughters? Are they twins? Why don't they talk?" By 6 p.m., their faces were human. By 6:30 p.m., something shifted. Their skin looked thinner. Their smiles stayed too long. Their shadows leaned in directions their body did not. Still, no one understood, not even the elders. It was as if Ajala Street itself was under a soft spell. Questions dissolved as soon as they formed. Suspicions melted the moment the smell returned. Business did not slow. It grew. Because hunger was louder than fear. Because addiction tastes like comfort. Because nobody wanted to think too deeply about the quiet truth forming beneath their appetite. That no normal human being could sell that much food every day without rest. That Mama Ronti always began packing at 6:50 p.m. No matter how long the line still was. Even if people begged. Even if money waved in her face. Even if children cried. At exactly 7 p.m., she closed. Those who arrived late wailed as if they had lost something precious. Mama Ronti never looked back. She gathered her empty pot, nodded once to the street, and vanished with her daughters into the dim path leading towards the abandoned clinic. And that was when the mortuary guards began to notice something different. The water drums behind the mortuary that were meant for washing bodies were lighter in the mornings, yet no one ever signed the logbook. And the drain beneath the slab, it flowed redder than it should. If the water had finished, the story would have ended early. But it did not. At first, the mortuary attendants thought nothing of it. Bodies came and went. Buckets were filled. Floors were washed. Death was routine there. And routine makes strange things invisible. Yet every morning, the same thing happened. The water drums were lighter, not empty, not dry, just reduced. Enough to raise a question, never enough to cause an alarm. The taps were locked. The keys never left the supervisor's belt. Still, the water dropped with careful consistency, as though someone knew exactly how much to take without being noticed. No one connected it to Mama Ronti. Why would they? She was just a food seller, and business on Ajala Street has reached a level no one had ever seen before. By the 4th month, people were no longer coming alone. They came in groups, families, entire bus loads. People placed phone calls hours ahead. Abeg, reserve for me oh. Don't sell finish oh. I'm on my way oh. Some customers arrived shaking, not from hunger, but anticipation. They held plates before the pot was even opened. Some begged Mama Ronti to pour the rice into their mouths directly. She never reacted. She never rushed. She never smiled fully. She cooked with patience that felt ancient. Still, something began to change. The water near the mortuary started smelling wrong, stronger, heavier, like iron and rot. The drainage beneath the slab no longer flowed clear. It stained the ground dark. Flies gathered there even in the rain. Dogs avoided the area completely, pulling against their owners' leashes when dragged close. Then people began to go missing. At first, nobody said it out loud. A drunk who slept near the clinic did not wake up in the morning. A woman who sold recharge cards beside the road disappeared after closing late. A teenage boy sent to buy jollof at 6:40 never returned home. Each case explained away. They traveled. He probably ran away. She must have followed a man. And yet, Mama Ronti's jollof tasted richer, redder, thicker. Customers swore the rice felt heavier in their stomachs, as if it settled and refused to leave. Some claimed they could eat it once and not feel hungry for an entire day. Pregnant women craved nothing else. One woman fainted when she arrived late and found the stall gone. Mama Ronti always left at 6:50 p.m. always, even on days when coolers were still half full, even when money laid untouched on the table, even when customers knelt. I will pay double. I will pay anything. She packed. At 6:55 p.m., the daughters lifted the coolers with effortless strength. At 7 p.m., the air around them shifted. People described it differently. Some said the street dimmed. Others said sound dipped suddenly, like ears underwater. A few swore they felt cold for just 1 second. Then Mama Ronti and her daughters were gone. One evening, a mortuary cleaner named Kule stayed behind to smoke. As dogs thickened, he saw movement near the drainage tunnel. Not footsteps, dragging. He leaned closer and saw a shape being pulled, human-shaped. He ran. By morning, Kunle had quit his job without collecting his last pay. Still, nobody confronted Mama Ronti, not the elders, not the police, not the health officials. It was as though the thought slid away the moment it formed. Even the elders, men who had lived long enough to recognize bad signs, felt strangely calm whenever her name came up. She's just hardworking. One said, God has blessed her hands. Another replied, and Mama Ronti grew rich, too rich. Money piled up. She bought land. She bought 2 mansions, one on each side of the town, yet she never slept in either. The houses remained dark, untouched, locked. She still returned to the mortuary every evening because if she did not, she would not exist. That was the rule she never spoke aloud. And by the 6th month, Ajala Street had changed completely. People ate less of other foods. Some stopped cooking at home. Children fell sick when denied Mama Ronti's rice. Quarrels broke out daily over queue positions, and one person noticed everything. She did not drool. She did not crave. She watched. Her name was Iyabose, and she was tired of being invincible. Iyabose's store sat barely 10 steps away from Mama Ronti's. 10 steps. Close enough to smell the jollof. Close enough to hear the laughter, close enough to watch money change hands again and again, but far enough to be ignored. Her own pot was smaller. Her rice was good, properly cooked, well seasoned, honest food. Yet by 6 p.m., Flies had already claimed it. Her bench stayed empty. Her spoon rested untouched. Every evening, she watched the same ritual, the crowd forming, the drooling, the desperate faces, the way her own customers disappeared the moment Mamaronti arrived. At first, Iyabose told herself it was competition. Maybe she uses better ingredients. Maybe her pepper supplier is different. Maybe people just like her face. But ingredients do not make people tremble. Pepper do not make grown men cry. By the third month, jealousy had added into something else, suspicion. Iyabose began to watch details. Mamaronti never wiped her sweat after 6:30. Her hands never shook. Her eyes never followed the money. And those girls, they never sat. They never spoke. They never ate. By 6:50 p.m., they moved like clockwork. Iyabose noticed the exact moment the air changed, right before Mamaronti parked. Sound dipped. The street felt hollow. One evening, Iyabose pretended to close early. She turned her back, then watched from the reflection of a car window. At 6:55, Mamaronti tied the last nylon. At 7 p.m., the corner emptied, not walked away. Emptied. Iyabose's heart raced. That night, she followed, not closely, not boldly. She kept distance. Mamaronti and the girls moved towards the abandoned clinic, the same one with the mortuary. As they reached the fence, something impossible happened. The space in front of them folded inward like clothes being gathered, and they were gone. Iyabose screamed. No sound came out. She fell to her knees, hands shaking. From that night, she stopped cooking. Instead, she asked questions. She spoke to cleaners, to night guards, to boys who slept near the clinic. She paid in food, in money, in lies. Then answers came slowly. Water drums, lighter, strange smells, things dragged at night, people missing. Still, nobody accused Mamaronti, not openly. It was like the name slipped from the mouth once it got close to the blame. But Iyabose understood one thing clearly. Time. Mamaronti was not free. She was borrowed, and borrowed things must be returned. By 7 p.m., that was the weakness. Iyabose began to talk to the youth. Hungry boys, hungry boys. Boys tired of watching others prosper. She's not normal. She is using us. She's the reason people are missing. They asked for proof. She gave them patterns. She always leaves at the same time. She never stays late. Stop her just once and see. They planned carefully. Market day. Noise, crowds, confusion. They would pretend to buy in bulk, surround the stall, tie her down. Just 5 minutes, just past 7 p.m. On the chosen day, Mamaronti arrived as usual, but something was wrong. She paused before opening her pot. Her daughters stood closer than ever. Their eyes flickered restless. At 6:45, the youths arrived. At 6:50, the pushing started. At 6:45, the rope appeared. People screamed. Some laughed. Some ran. Mamaronti did not fight. She looked at the sky. Her daughter screamed. Sounds not meant for human ears. Please, Mamaronti said calmly. You do not understand the rule. The rope tightened. 6:59. Dogs howled from nowhere. The street lights flickered. By 7, the world snapped. Mamaronti folded inward like ash pulled by wind. The daughters stretched upward, their forms tearing apart, dissolving into smoke that burned the eyes. The rope fell. There was nothing there. No blood, no body, no explanation. Only rot and silence. Ajala Street did not cheer because something had gone wrong. Terribly. Ajala Street waited for relief. That was the mistake. The morning after Mamaronti vanished, people woke up expecting lightness, freedom, an end to the hunger that had ruled their evenings. Instead, the street felt empty, not quiet. Empty. The corner where her store once stood looked ordinary again. Too ordinary. No smoke stains on the wall. No ash on the ground. No trace of the pot that had fed half of the street. But the smell was gone. Completely. Iyabose opened her store early that day. She cooked more rice than she had ever before. She used her best oil. She used her strongest pepper. She waited. Nobody came. People passed her store, paused, sniffed the air, frowned, and kept walking. By afternoon, something began to happen. The hunger returned. Not the type that food answered. People ate yam, swallowed garri, drank pap, until their stomachs stretched painfully. But the emptiness stayed. Children cried without knowing why. Adults grew irritable, restless, short-tempered. That night, the dreams began. People dreamt of boiling pots without fire, of water dripping endlessly onto cold slabs, of hands stirring rice that smelled like iron. Many woke choking, throats dry, tongues swollen. By the third day, the mortuary became impossible to ignore. The drainage channel overflowed. The ground stayed wet, even in sunlight. A thick smell, sour and angry, hung around the building. Flies gathered in clouds. Dogs refused to come near. Bodies stopped being delivered. Guards resigned. The missing people began to return, not alive. They were found in strange places, inside locked rooms, behind closed shops, under beds. Each body looked used, shrunken, dry, as if everything that made them human had been taken out carefully. Doctors said dehydration. Elders said nothing. Even now, the truth stayed hidden from them, like a veil that had only partially lifted. Iyabose was the first to break. She could not eat. She could not sleep. At 6:50 p.m. every evening, she heard footsteps behind her stall. At 7, whispers, "Mama time, mama time." She smelled jollof everywhere, on her clothes, in her breath, in her dreams. One night, the smell led her to an abandoned clinic. The gate was open, the room was wet, and the pot was there cooking. No fire, no cook. Yet the rice stirred itself slowly, patiently. Two shadows stood beside it, waiting. They found the Iyabose there 3 days later. Her body was tied, just like Mama Ronti's had been. After that, Angela Street changed forever. No food business survived there. People moved away, shops closed, the street lights stopped working at exactly 7 p.m. every evening. Sometimes, on quiet nights, people swear that they smell jollof. If you follow it, you'll find nothing, only wet ground, only red smoke, only the sound of a woman packing up unbothered, rich beyond measure, obeying one rule that keeps borrowed flesh intact. Because Mama Ronti did not die, she returned to the dead, and the dead do not forgive interference. Always remember.